everyone, welcome to the channel. So today I want to talk about Lilo and Stitch again. There's been a lot of conversation around the ending of the live action remake, with many people not being on board for it, myself included. So the director came out to defend their decisions, saying that people do get left behind sometimes, which in my opinion kind of defeats the purpose of the original message. I mean, they were pretty clear when it came to the purpose of Ohana, but here we are. So I wanted to see what they had to say for themselves. So the article starts by saying Lilo and Stitch director Dean Fleischer Camp is defending the changes to the remake's ending. Disney recently presented their latest live-action remake, focusing on a Hawaiian girl, Lilo, who befriends a rebellious, experienced alien, Stitch. Several live-action changes face scrutiny from the audiences, including the redesigns of Pleakley and Jumba, and the decision to cut Gansu as the main villain. However, one of the most divisive topics was Lilo and Stitch's ending, where Nani decides to give up guardianship of Lilo to her neighbor so that she can go attend college and study marine biology. So I think this was the biggest issue that most people had, where Nani goes off to California to study marine biology. In my opinion, I think she probably could have gone to a local school, or attended classes online, because I understand them wanting a stay-in-school message, but a lot of people put themselves through school while raising kids. It is possible, and honestly, I think it's something that Nani would be up for. I mean, they lost their parents in this really tragic accident, and all Nani and Lilo wanted was to stay together to keep their Ohana together. So her just letting go of Lilo and going off to college, especially going out of state, it just feels like there were other ways to handle this. And I think that's where most people are coming from when it comes to the ending, especially given the themes of the original movie. But here we are, so let's continue. While speaking with Variety, Camp finally addressed the changes to the Lilo and Stitch ending and the intense backlash from audiences. He started the argument by saying that he believes some dissenters did not actually watch the movie and are dunking on the changes for the wrong reason. So the statement reads, "I've had some time to think about this. I do think that a fair amount of people who are dunking on that premise have not actually seen the movie, and they write me stuff that's clearly wrong. They get the beats of the story wrong, but when you see it, it doesn't feel that way at all, and you see the intent of the actual filmmaking." So I'm not entirely sure what he's saying here. I guess he's getting DMs or responses of people saying that they didn't like the ending, but then getting those details wrong. I guess it would be nice if he gave some examples, like what story beats specifically were people talking about that they got the details wrong. But I don't know, I guess we'll keep going. Then Camp elaborated on the reason why the changes to the ending were made in the first place. While wanting to expand on the concept of Ohana, Sanders, who is Hawaiian, felt that the original ending didn't seem accurate to the culture he grew up in, since he didn't think the sisters would be fending for themselves. He believed neighbors and friends would chime in to help during difficult times. That conversation led to the creation of the original character, Tutu, who would eventually take in Lilo as a hanai, showcasing the culture's idea of informal adoption. So in the remake, Tutu is the neighbor of Lilo and Nani, and she's also David's grandmother. But I mean, as far as the original goes, like, David did everything he could to help. I don't know, I still think that they could have had the neighbor without Nani going off to college the way she did. Like, she can check up on them and make sure that they're okay and, like, get them stuff if they need it. But in this film, Nani just felt kind of checked out, I guess. Like, she's not even the one who brought Lilo to get Stitch in the first place, or to get a dog in the first place. The neighbor did. You know, I don't think that they had to have the neighbor totally, like, replace Nani. You know what I mean? I don't know, I just feel like they could have handled this a lot differently and better. But Camp acknowledged that the change wouldn't satisfy everyone. Well, if he acknowledged that, then maybe he could have tried to find a solution that would satisfy more people? I don't know, just a thought. But anyway, there's another statement here. There are two larger conversations going on that led us towards that ending. We wanted to expand the meaning of Ohana and ground it in traditional Hawaiian values of collectivism, extended family, and community. Chris, who's Hawaiian, made a really important observation about the original early on in our discussions. He didn't buy that the two orphan sisters would just be left to fend for themselves. He said neighbors, churchgoers, aunties, and uncles, all these people would step in. That's just the Hawaii I know and grew up in. That led him to create this character of Tutu, and she ultimately takes Lilo in as a hanai, which is this culturally specific term and tradition that is a form of Hawaiians who've seen the film have picked up on in reference to hanai, and they love that. It's this uniquely Hawaiian answer to the question of who shows up when things fall apart, and that idea of informal adoption adoption. It shows the broader community's willingness to informal adoption. Seems like they're repeating themselves a little bit. But it isn't about blood and paperwork, but love and responsibility for the greater good and for one's community. Well, I mean, if you actually watch the movie, the social worker does do paperwork to give Lilo to Tutu. So it wasn't actually informal. I'm not entirely sure. And again, they could have had this without Nani going away to college. I think that's the part that really bothered a lot of people, along with Nani just not being as attentive as she was in the original. It just felt like Nani was kind of a different character. I mean, I think it's good that they do get to have some help now, but that doesn't change the fact that, you know, the whole point of the movie was about the sisters overcoming their tragedies and shortcomings, and here they just kind of got rid of all that so that way Nani can go off to college in California. But it continues with a lot of sacrifice and do whatever it takes for these girls and for their Ohana. I think you can't satisfy everyone with these remakes. You are treading on hallowed ground when you make one of these, because these are films people grew up with, and I'm one of them, and I totally understand it. Well, I mean, he's not really addressing Nani going off to college. I mean, he kind of seems like the biggest problem was that they added a new character, which I think could have worked, especially since they gave her a connection to David, who already had a connection to Nani and Lilo. But to have her kind of replace Nani entirely was just not something that I agree with, personally. Also, the fact that they said that it wasn't about paperwork, but in the movie it did come down to paperwork. I'm just saying. But anyway, the director then iterated that the team didn't want to recreate the exact beats of the original movie. He valued telling a more honest story, which meant losing everything and still moving forward. This even means people getting left behind, but it also means that the community will make sure that loved ones don't get forgotten. See, I don't know, based on the original, I feel like that just kind of betrays the idea of Ohana as presented in Lilo and Stitch, the original movie. And again, I think there was another way to go about having Nani go to college but still stay with Lilo. I mean, I'm not sure if I would consider the original not an honest story, you know what I mean? Because it is realistic that people go to college and raise kids. That is something that happens. I don't know, I'm just having trouble seeing their point of view, I guess. But let's see. So the article continues with, the term Ohana is a major theme in both the original and remake versions of Lilo and Stitch, but the execution does seem to differ. Well, it does differ. Like, it completely differs. But anyway, the original 2002 version illustrates Nani fighting vehemently to keep her guardianship of Lilo, and she ultimately succeeds in the end. During that journey, characters like Cobra Bubbles, Pleakley, and Jumba eventually join the Pelikai sisters to form their own expansive family. However, many of those details do change, particularly when Jumba replaces Gansu as the remake's key villain, and the meaning of Ohana seems to alter. So at least the article is acknowledging that they did change the meaning of Ohana, basically, to, I guess, have their cake and eat it too. But also with Jumba, I mean, I liked the original's, like, found family message. I thought it was very heartwarming, and I liked Jumba's redemption arc, and I think it's sad that he ends up getting arrested in this one and doesn't actually get to join them. Maybe in a sequel they'll have him get redeemed, but I don't know, I'm still not convinced that the changes that were made to this remake were better. As a result, many audiences expressed their discontent with the changes, believing that Nani's decision was uncharacteristic. Yeah, like I said, she felt like a different character, but this led to intense conversations throughout social media, with many commentators believing that the remake ruined the whole message about Ohana, and even accused the change of being too westernized. On the other hand, many Hawaiians have indeed defended the changes. Several natives similarly argue that the changes to Lilo and Stitch ending were on point with their cultural values, and even found it to be more nuanced. I mean, I think that's great if it's resonating with native Hawaiians, and I definitely don't want to take that away from them, but I still don't think that she had to go away to college, and she just kind of pops in whenever because she has a teleporter, or that they had to make Jumba not redeemable. I mean, I still don't see why she couldn't have gone to college in Hawaii, and it probably would have been cheaper too. Not to mention the whole people do get left behind actually, but the original established Ohana specifically does not mean that. I mean, maybe they could have told a different story instead of remaking Lilo and Stitch if that was the case. still feels like a betrayal of the original. But regardless of divided opinions, it hasn't harmed the movie in its pursuit of success. The remake is already breaking lots of box office milestones and is aiming to become the first Hollywood movie in 2025 to hit the $1 billion mark, which definitely makes sense. It's Stitch, he's a moneymaker, but it is what it is. The immense success also means that there's a strong chance of a sequel. Oh, absolutely, they're gonna milk this continually, which is seemingly already in discussion at Disney. Even with the intense backlash, audiences generally liked the remake based on the 93% popcorn meter on Rotten Tomatoes and a grade A on CinemaScore. Again, it's Stitch. I don't think there's any way they could have actually ruined the movie. Maybe if they killed him off for real? Again, it's Stitch. Likely audiences would have enjoyed the movie regardless of what they did. Maybe if they actually killed him off, but they're not gonna do that. As long as Stitch is cute and fluffy. But anyway, remakes will always have some altered details, and not everyone will be happy with the final product. That is part of the baggage of making any kind of remake, and the Lilo and Stitch remake is the latest to suffer this ordeal. But if it means anything, these kinds of conversations highlight the audience's love and passion for the franchise. I mean, they're not wrong about that, but I still think they could have made the remake more faithful to at least the themes of the original, instead of just people do get left behind sometimes, or saying that it's more honest. I mean, that's just kind of dismissive of the original too. But anyway, sometimes change can be hard to accept, but there's no denying that the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake couldn't be a scene-by-scene recreation of the original. Some details in the animation may not work in the live-action treatment, which validates why several changes had to be made. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, for example, Gantu, they probably could have given him a human disguise the way they did Jumba and Pleakley if they wanted to save on animation and stuff. Plus, again, I'm not against her going to college, just the way they had her do it, which I didn't even address in this article. It would have been nice if they did, but it finishes up with the creative team also wanted the narrative to be more realistic and honest, which also influenced the changes. Yeah, I take issue with that statement. But also, this is a movie about aliens. I mean, does it have to be 100% realistic, ignoring the fact that people do put themselves through college and raising children at the same time? I'm just saying. Ultimately, the remake ending was going to face changes, and it will take some time to fully grasp them. Yeah, I think I'll just stick with the original Lilo and Stitch. Honestly, this article didn't really change my opinion on how I feel about the ending. I still think that it could have been handled a lot better, and a lot more in line with the original's message. I mean, I'm not against them making changes, like, just as a concept, but when it goes against the original themes of what they're remaking, then I have a problem with it. But it is what it is. As long as the original exists, I guess that's fine. On the bright side, maybe Stitch being back in the public conscious means they'll do more with him outside of these live-action remakes. Like, maybe they'll revisit the Lilo and Stitch animated series. I'm not against more Stitch content, I do like his character, but I still don't care for this live-action remake universe they've created. But that's my thoughts. What did you guys think about the ending of the Lilo and Stitch remake? Did this article sway your opinion at all? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. But with that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to our members. Tyrant Carnivore, Shiny Orc Boy, Depth Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Verdant Range, JVR, Equestron, Norman Sweet Cream, Way Beyond Coincidence, Hunter Rose, 80s Nostalgia Guy, Felix Bam, Lucas Geist, J Draws, Meowsers, Sky, Philip, Isaac Martinez, Garcia XV Legend, Tobias Weller, Bandito Bane, Mac B909, Dakari the Professor, Todd McCaffrey, Omni Fair, Cavalcoj, Strider Exile, Phil C, Killer Bomb, Slawa Saporiguez, Entwined Boot 301, Griffin of Might, Frankie Camarillo, Datadyne Executive, Crimson Phantom, Jin the Goblin, Papa Hud 69, The Gengar King, Daunter, and G-Rock. Thank you for the support, and if you want to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support us that way. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and that part's free. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.